can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall. Delighted as always to be joined by Owen, and we're here in final prediction mode for an interesting heavyweight affair. It has to be said. November 14th, this Friday in Tashkent, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Uzbekistan, as the hometown hero, Bakhodir Jalolov, of course, the amateur superstar, returns to the ring, looking to maintain or kind of carry on with his stop-start career. It's safe to say, on as he faces the Nigerian Solomon Adebayo, another unbeaten heavyweight with seemingly heavy hands, but hasn't really fought anyone of note whatsoever. That might be being kind, fairly kind, saying that. But yeah, let's jump straight into it. On. I hope you're well as always. What is your final prediction for this one? Bakhodir Jalolov against Solomon Adebayo.
I think if Jalolov wants to be taken seriously, this should be no more than 3 rounds. Solomon Adebayo, he hasn't fought outside of Nigeria. He can obviously punch, 14 wins, 13 knockouts. So he can evidently punch, but the question is, who's he punching? The caliber of fighters he's punching. He hasn't fought outside of his native Nigeria. Nigeria is not exactly the mecca of boxing. How many registered shows has there been in Nigeria of top level opposition and opponents, etc. So for someone like Jalolov, like you say, he's been a stop-start career, looked a bit of a monster. Guys, you say, coming with a decent amateur background, a lot expected of him, and he's sort of been lost. I feel like early in his career, he was mentioned on ESBR videos constantly, as potential next stars, tests for, top level opponents, breaking into the top 15, etc., etc. And I feel like he's just been left behind a little bit. So I think now's the time to make a statement. I think he's going to stop him in the first round. I really do. I think he has to make a statement, and yeah, I'm going for a Jalolov knockout in round one.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. I won't beat around the bush. I'll give my prediction. I agree, it has to be early, and I think it will be. Just for the sake of being different, I'll say round two. But I totally agree with yourself. If he wants to be taken seriously, or if he wants to kind of keep his name in people's minds, I think he has to do it early. In the very, very most 3 rounds, it has to be done. But yeah, I think he will get it done early. And yeah, I think you are dead right in what you said with Jalolov. He has been left behind. I think he's definitely been left behind. I think it's been whether it's his fault or not, I know he's struggled with injuries and that, but his career has been a disgrace from what was expected of him. I don't mean to kind of mince my words. It has been disgraceful. Clearly a talented fighter. Has the amateur pedigree and then some. He's a superstar amateur. But I just think, yeah, he's he hasn't it hasn't panned out the way people expected it to pan out from. And I'll ask you the same question, but I'm gonna kind of give my answer to it now. Is that I don't think it will pan out into any kind of significant, world titles or even world title challenges. I just think it's too late. He's wasted too much time, and he's even talking about going back to the Olympics again in 2028, which is crazy. But yeah, just before we kind of wrap up, would you agree with that summation? Do you ever see Jalolov troubling the big boys in the division?
Um, don't necessarily know about troubling. I think he'll get a fight eventually, but with his amateur pedigree and what was expected of him in the pros, he's now stepping into the potential Moses Italma world. He should have been a million miles ahead of Italma, not based on ability, but based on time, age, experience, etc. The fights we're talking about for Moses Italma, Jalolov should have been having these fights 4 or 5 fights ago. He wasn't. I think we'll still see him around in the picture, but only because Fury, AJ, Usyk, Wilder, Zhang, all the top name heavyweights, they're all old, they're all getting on. So I think it's going to be an open landscape with not too many big names that will allow him to probably have world title aspirations. But I know obviously professionals can enter the Olympics, but if his big plan is to go to the Olympics in the next, what, 2 years, because we're basically in 2026 now, then yeah, I agree with you that if that is his goal, then he won't be a world champion at all. I think he could and probably should be based off what was expected, but Moses Italma is doing what most expected Jalolov to do.
Yeah, spot on. It's hard to disagree with any of that. Just quickly before we wrap up, a name that just came to mind because there is previous history in the amateurs from the Olympics. I want to throw a name with you. If it happened next, who would you pick to win? Jalolov against Terra Moana. That's a fight that could happen. I'd love to see happen. Who would you fancy in that one?
Oh, Jesus, that's putting you on the spot. I don't. He's obviously, coming in with a bit of hype, but I'm not having Terra Moana just yet for me. I think I'd back Jalolov based off what I've seen so far. Give it 3 or 4 more fights, and it's probably end up being a different answer. But at present, I would back Jalolov. I don't think that Terra Moana has wowed me or stood out to me as of yet. But it's early days for him, so that answer could very well change. But 100% I'd back Jalolov at present.
Yeah, it's probably the safe bet to back Jalolov there, but it's a fight I think makes sense for kind of the near future. Those two, Jalolov needs a serious opponent. What say what you want about the level that Terra Moana's been at, but it is a name that people would be familiar with, and it would be interesting. And they have previous from the amateurs, but yeah, he has to get past Solomon Adebayo first. That was myself and Owen predicting an early knockout for Bakhodir Jalolov, November 14th in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Yeah, as he looks to kind of kickstart his stop-start career. So let us know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with our prediction? Is it an early night or can Adebayo spring what will be a huge upset? Let us know. Get involved down below. And as always, don't forget, drop a like on the video. First of all, if you've enjoyed the content, hit that subscribe button if you're not doing so already at ESBR Boxing and follow us on all social media. Owen, it was an absolute pleasure. Take care.
Cheers, mate.